Better late than never, right, Anthony Milcuri?
I'm never late.
Never.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's Anthony Milcuri. I'm Glenn Hausman. It's June 23rd, 2022. How are you, my friend?
I was good. I woke up yesterday to a beautiful ocean view and beautiful weather. And now I'm in New York. The weather's not so nice.
Oh, I'm looking out my window. It's the mid-70s. Seems to be beautiful. You know, Anthony, my kids are graduating high school today, and I got to go.
I heard you say in the green room. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think they're more excited about going out for a rodizio meal where they get to eat meat on skewers than anything else, I think.
Aren't they, as I heard, they're the first housemans to ever graduate high school? Is that true?
Well, legally. I got the paperwork forged. All right, so, Anthony, I've been traveling around the country an awful lot, and I've been learning more about hotel operations, and I had no idea that PTAC units were anything more than just like setting it and forgetting it.
Well, you know what? First of all, I got to tell you a story. Yeah. You know what a PTAC unit is?
Yes.
Okay, what is a PTAC unit?
It's those air conditioning things that you plug in.
Air conditioning heating units that go into the wall. You see them in a lot of hotels, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm playing golf the other day in Florida, which I never play golf, so don't judge me. And I was hanging out with some high school friends, and I had a friend of mine, and he said, "Why don't you come back to my shop? I solved one of your operation issues."
Right.
What do you mean you solved one of my operation issues? And he said, "You know how PTAC units always the drain always gets clogged up, and that it overflows, and it's always a problem. We either have to take the PTAC unit out, or we have to actually put the hotel room out because there's not a maintenance person to pull out the PTAC unit. And you know how that drain gets clogged? Well, we solved the problem." So I actually went to the factory right before I got on the plane back to New York after my golfing in Fort Lauderdale, and I actually saw how they solved the problem.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And I saw this cool video. I had no idea that could get really disgusting and gross inside because of all the water that drips and all this film and stuff and chemicals not chemicals, but calcium and other deposits and stuff like that probably build up in there. But they got this great, easy to use solution here. You simply just plug it right in. All the water simply drains out. Oh, look how happy she is. Look at all that water easily draining out instead of collecting in the pan. But then you need to make sure that nothing builds up. And that's where this real cool patent pending thing is, right? So it's a PTAC chassis pan. And then you take these little balls, drop them right in, and it dissolves all of that nastiness away. Look at that. Just deliver it. Boom.
Pellets. And what happens is, hotels don't do the right thing and pull out the PTAC units and clean them properly. So this pan, what it allows it to do is to put these little pellets in. It cleans out the system so you never have that problem. So you teach your housekeepers to do that, every so often, and it cleans out the line. And at 4:00 in the morning, Glenn, because I know you think you're an operator, but you're not. At 4:00 in the morning, when a guest calls and says, "I have water all over my floor and the PTAC unit's not working properly," you don't have to change the rooms or, God forbid, walk them because you don't have another room. And if you don't have a maintenance person. So it solves the problem. Again, it's one of those little problems that no one ever talks about. But if you operate hotels, it's the biggest pain in the butt you can't imagine.
Yeah, that's true. So if you're having water problems in your existing wall sleeve, Champion is going to come out and install a mock-up unit for free. And if you tell them No Vacancy sent you, they're going to give you 10% off until July 6th. How cool is that? Check them out at champion-ptac.com. Anthony, let's bring on our amazing guest. What do you think?
That's cool, but it's not as cool as you, so let's bring him on.
All right, let's bring him on. We got Laura Lee Blake, the brand new president and CEO of AAHOA, and Neal Patel, still chairman after a couple of months. Congratulations, guys. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Glenn.
How much fun is it that you're both new in the position and kind of discovering it together?
It's only fun when we're doing a podcast with you and Anthony.
Thank you. I love your sweet, sweet little lies. And the cool thing is, we were just talking about the good folks at Champion. They're actually a platinum member with AAHOA last year. They attended the Dallas and Baltimore shows, and they had a really busy booth over there. It was really fun to see. What a convention you guys had.
Yes. Absolutely. And we're excited. I think we had close to 6,500 attendees, hoteliers from all over the US. Yes.
Yeah, that block party was something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next year is going to be LA Live. So that'll be fun.
That's
from
fun.
April 11th through 14th.
Yeah.
And expecting 8,500 hoteliers.
One of the things I talk about all the time, and when I was at your convention, I was talking about all the numbers, and I was lucky enough to be on stage.
That was in the summer of 2021 in Dallas.
Yes.
Telling everyone the impact that the whole community has on the hotel industry. People don't realize 60 to 70% of all hotels in America are owned by the whole community, and that the majority of new builds that are in the pipeline are owned by AAHOA. They still think it's your grandfather's AAHOA, and it really is. The power of AAHOA is insane. So how does it feel now that you're new, Laura Lee, to how does it feel? I mean, it must be a little overwhelming, even with all your experience and everything you've done. I know you've worked with them before. I mean, coming in and like when you worked with them back in, what was it, about 15 years ago?
Correct. Yes.
Right. What's changed in 15 years?
First of all, she walked in like returning champion.
Yes. Well, I was very welcomed. But as president and CEO of AAHOA, to walk into this role, I get to work with 20,000 members on a daily basis. And these are strong entrepreneurs. This is truly inspirational every single day. And you're talking about some of these numbers. It was interesting this morning. We had a team meeting. As part of our team meeting at the office, we were doing a trivia contest. And so I was quizzing some of our team members on some of these numbers. And one that I did not even realize until I started looking at it is every single night, more than 3.5 million guests stay in the hotel rooms of our AAHOA members. Wow. 3.5 million guests every single night. That fills up apparently all 30 NFL stadiums, 30 NBL stadiums. I mean, that is the power of AAHOA. That is the number of people that are being served on a daily basis because of these hotels. So to be able to walk back in and to work with our board who, they're young, they are forward looking, they want to accomplish amazing things. I keep using one word, it's exhilarating. Just everything that's going on, all the energy that's built up around it. I could not be any happier than to walk back in and see AAHOA and be with AAHOA again. So
and when you're working with AAHOA and around AAHOA, the one thing I love about them is you can't, there's no half answers. It's like they're operators. Yeah. They know, like we were just talking about PTAC units. They know the problems. They know the issues. And anytime I have a conversation with them, even me who've been doing this for 35 years, sometimes I find myself going, I didn't know that. Oh my God. And they're very educated and very hands-on. They're the most hands-on community I've ever had in any business I've ever run. They know how a bed should be made. They know how much soap should cost. They know when to change the roof and what materials they should use. It's insane. So when you're in that role, you really got to know your stuff.
Well, and it's one of these things too, and they've been joking with me because I keep saying the same thing. There's no place like AAHOA. There's no place like AAHOA. In fact, I think they're going to get me a T-shirt that says "There's no place like AAHOA."
Do you have ruby slippers to go along?
Right.
And just for those people that don't maybe know what AAHOA is or who AAHOA is, those two people in the world that don't.
Right.
Just, maybe Neal, you can explain what AAHOA does and how they're a champion, not just for the AAHOA community, but really for the hotel community in general.
Of course. So I grew up in the industry. We had a 20-room motel in Giddings, Texas, an hour away from Austin. And I've seen my parents clean rooms at midnight. I've seen them wake up at 2 a.m. to give a room. And during our holidays, guess what we were doing? We were doing exactly that. We were cleaning rooms, tending to guests and their needs. And we grew up in the industry. So there's so much education that's around a lot of times, like recently we did a survey of our membership that attended the convention, and our question was, why do you come to the convention? And the number one answer was to network with one another. And then second was education, and then election. So what I mean by that is our membership is learning more things outside of the education than going to an education session. Because a lot of times, like when you talk about best practices, there's always that one person that does it better, or there's always that one thing that we have never thought about that someone else is doing. And then how is it going to improve my bottom line? And that's the goal. AAHOA will give you resources and be the foremost resource and advocate for America's
especially now where we were just talking to a brand, and I'm doing some work for them, and it's enough about complaining about blind employees and not enough staff and the wages are too high and we can't make all that. It's solution driven. And what I like about AAHOA, they're solution driven. They don't really talk about the problem for more than a second. They're like, okay, what's the solution? And there's so many, like you said, 20,000 members. Someone in that 20,000 has a solution.
Absolutely, exactly. And we always say to our board that everyone wants to go from here to here, but the route you take will be different every single time. And what I mean by that is in our hotels, we all want to do better, but everyone has a unique story. We have 20,000 stories that are all unique and different, and they all work. And it all gets you from one place to another. But when you come to events or when you're part of the education sessions, you learn different ways. It opens up your mind that there's a different way of doing things, doing business to improve your bottom line.
And I'll jump in there too, that has been one of the true joys of returning to AAHOA is when I worked, because I was originally with AAHOA for nearly 10 years, from 2005 through 2014. And at the time I was working with a lot of first generation hoteliers, and now to come back, I'm working with a lot of the second generation. And in fact, some of the members on the board are children of the colleagues that I had before. And to see how, as Neal is a perfect example, to see how he grew up in the industry and went off and was educated, a lot of them educated at our top universities, and now they're coming back and they have a whole different business perspective, a whole different financial perspective on how to solve these issues, how to solve the problems, and to now be stepping back in and seeing this intergenerational community that's coming together and has such an impact on the industry. AAHOA is united. The things that can happen because of the force of the membership and what they want to do.
Getting out of a lot of the first generation started with the 2 and 3 star hotels, and now you're going to 4 and 5 star hotels. So when you're going to 4 and 5 star hotels and you're getting into 2, 3, 4, 500,000 room hotels, you were working in that hotel when you were 10 years old and you were trying to get the stain out of that sheet. Now you know how to do that at a much higher volume. So when people say you need new linen, you're like, no, you don't. Let me teach you how to take things out of linen. I mean, that's granular. That's what you really learn at that level. When you're sleeping in the back of the front desk or you're sleeping down the hall from the front desk, you really learn everything from security to maintenance. And it's so like I say, I've never spoken to a AAHOA member that didn't know as much or more than I did.
Yeah, Neal, let me ask you, at what point did you realize that you actually became an expert when you figured you're out of your parents' shadow learning?
Yeah. So becoming an expert in this industry, I don't think I'll ever be an expert because there's always that next person that does it better than me.
Right.
And I'm learning new things every single day. We have 22 regions, so 22 regionals that we attend. Like last week, we were in Salt Lake City, and we had never been to Salt Lake City, and yet we had over 100 attendees there.
Wow.
So now you're learning things about Salt Lake and even some of the best practices that they may have, which may not impact me because of different clientele or different reasons why they're coming to the city. But it's unique, as I said, and you're learning.
I learned something about Salt Lake City. when you're trying to paint 30 rooms and give it and do a show and you only have 24 hours, call the football team at the local high school.
Oh yeah,
They show up. My producer literally called the high school football team, and they all showed up and painted 30 rooms for us. So yeah, the nicest people. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yes, absolutely.
That's pretty incredible. So Laura Lee, let me ask you. You started mid-May, so you're about 5 weeks into this. What has this reacquaintance process been like? Because you're coming from a little bit of a different point of view. You were, vice president of franchising and government affairs, but now you have to see all at 360. So what are you learning? What's different? How are things changed? And how ready do you feel you are to get going and make some differences?
Well, and that is an excellent question. The old adage that it's like drinking out of a fire hose at this point. We've heard that many times, but it's been, I've been immersed into it very quickly. I mean, within a week or two, we had a board meeting in Toronto. So I was able to kind of hear all of the concerns of the board and address the board business. I have been to women's conferences already. We went to the NYU conference. So there's been a lot of travel. Also, as many organizations are dealing with right now coming out of COVID, there's a look at kind of relaunching certain things, rebuilding the teams. And I mean, both with respect to AAHOA itself, but also our team members here serving AAHOA. So there are challenges, which I love. I love the challenges. But again, I am surrounded by, an amazing staff who have been here and have been through a lot of changes. The officers have been so highly supportive. The board members, as you said, we never lack great ideas at AAHOA. We just don't. I mean, there's that support, as well as the ambassadors that are on board. So I am surrounded by so much help, so many people wanting to make this work. And we truly are at a new starting point. We keep saying this is a new day. It's a new start for AAHOA, coming out of COVID and really ready to go to the next level. So it's not.
Imagine. Glenn, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I was finished. Thank you.
I always have something to say, but I wasn't going to say something.
And I apologize, but in my 35-year career, I've never seen more challenges. Okay, so if you break it down from employee challenges to salary challenges, where people come in your office and say, "I want $5 more. I'm leaving." It's like where 10 years ago you'd be like, "Well, see you. Have a nice day." Now you're like, "Wait, if I give you $6, will you stay?"
Right.
So you have that challenge. You obviously have what's coming now economically in our country, the downturn, which we're all going to feel in the next year. It's going to be, I think, it's really pretty significant. You're coming off of everybody just barely saving, a lot of people saving their hotels. And literally, I remember, I think it was somebody on this, I won't say who, but a young AAHOA member, and you saw it in their head. We had this discussion. I won't say, but they were like, they had to give up stuff. They had to give up their car. They had to give up their credit card. Like they were getting really, really nervous, right? So you get the exhaustion. You get the employee. Then we're having to do less with more. So you have the standard from the guest that's used to housekeeping every day that doesn't get it, but it's paying more. You know how many people have called me in the last week? I mean, either DMing or texting me going, "I'm traveling and I can't get housekeeping service, but I'm paying $200 more." Mm-hmm. And then you have the brands who don't have the bandwidth that they had pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. And some of them are pretending they do, but they really don't. And then you have general managers who have left the industry because they're exhausted. And then you have young managers coming up that really aren't capable. And you have the owners who are saying, "Okay, this is all happening. What do I do?" I mean, I've never seen more challenges in my career ever. So where do you even start from?
Neal, I'll say it sounds like another day at the office for your parents.
Yes, exactly.
I left out 10 other challenges.
Yeah. So
how do you right. And you add on top of that too, just kind of the government, is in many ways either conflicted or it's at a lock, it's at a standstill because everybody's looking at upcoming election years. And so you are absolutely correct. There are challenges on every level. But at the same time, and maybe that's a blessing that there are so many challenges that you have to work as a team.
Mm-hmm.
You have to address it as a team, because otherwise it's not going to happen. And we've been having that discussion with everybody at every level. These are the challenges we're facing. What are your challenges? And really reaching out and trying to get input from all different sources as to how do we address this. And I've been very encouraged. I mean, people are seeing it, but there's a lot of optimism. Even the industry, I've been reading some industry reports that, occupancy levels are expected to remain high in the upcoming years. Anybody that's traveling right now, I mean, oh my goodness, you go to the airport, it's sometimes standing room only. People are traveling. People want to be out there. The hotels are sold out. So we're going to hold on to that and see what we can do to, kind of address all of these other things.
I haven't been in an airport that I haven't, and I fly Delta. Delta, I think, is the best airline, and I haven't flown out of an airport in the last 3 weeks that I haven't been delayed. Last night I was coming back from Jupiter and I was delayed 8 hours. So weather related, at least that's what they said. But and that's another challenge, because the time you get a guest to your hotel, you're irritated because they have all those challenges dealing with. So but the good news is it's no one's fault, right? So that's like, there's sometimes in the industry where you can point to a brand or you can point to something it's somebody's fault. Like, this is no one's fault. This is just, an absolute tremendous challenge on every level.
So, Laura Lee, let me ask you this: with all these challenges, how do you come into this organization, make sure it's vigorous while also trying to tackle some of these more pressing challenges? How do you even know where to begin, what to start with?
She has a bottle of scotch at her desk.
Well, that's a good AAHOA tradition for sure, but I don't know,
That's right. Well, I mean, and so there are, like, I would call them maybe 3 different silos. One, of course, is the team at AAHOA here. We do have some openings with our team. We've been actually, thankfully, interviewing some very strong candidates. And so that is one challenge that I hope to overcome here in the next several weeks, is to get some strong people in place to help continue to build this team. Because without our team, without our staff, AAHOA is really at a standstill. So we need that, especially we have, as Neal mentioned, the regionals coming up, the convention. So that is kind of one silo. Another area, of course, and these are always priorities for AAHOA, but is the fair franchising aspect for our members. We're listening carefully to our members. What do they need? And so with the support of the officers and the board, we're really trying to do everything from engage in dialogue with the franchisors. We've already had several conversations that I would say were very positive, just raising concerns about what's the next steps. To, we're supporting different legislation. There's been some word out that, about that as well. And also looking at different advocacy efforts that we could do at the federal and state levels to continue to support our members, to know that they're being heard, because our members are always a top priority. And then, of course, with our amazing strong board and ambassadors, to also support them, make sure that they know that they're being heard and that they're, the issues that they're raising are being heard and addressed. And so I usually come in every day, and this is probably no surprise. I come in every day and I'll just hold it up like, a notebook, all these to-dos. And by the end of the day, the notebook's full with another, at least 200 to-dos. And so we learn to prioritize and enjoy the journey, because it is a journey. And this is a long-term effort. And, and we keep reminding everybody too, it is a new day. It's a new start. We have to manage expectations, but we are going at it full force. And I expect to continue to see amazing things.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony, I know you have something to say, but real quick, everyone, I just want to remind everybody, I want to thank our sponsor, Champion PTAC. Remember, if you're having water problems from your existing wall sleeve, they have a patented 42-inch by 16-inch PTAC wall sleeve made to fit all PTAC units. easy maintenance, 3/4-inch drain. Florida building improvement. If it's good in Florida weather, it's good anywhere. Get that 10% discount until July.
It's funny that it's on a AAHOA show today, because every AAHOA member just wrote their number down and go, wow, I didn't know that they existed.
I know.
One of the questions that I have is, what's the number one legislative demand or concern or priority?
Yep.
So right now, there's a legislation in New Jersey, and it tackles 4 things that we're standing by. Number one, a brand cannot sell loyalty points for profit. Number 2 was once you sign the franchise agreement, a brand cannot dictate or impose new fees that have not previously been disclosed. Number 3, no vendor exclusivity. And number 4 is no commissions or kickbacks, as the bill states, from any vendor partner that goes back to the brand. And if there's a commission or a kickback that goes back to the brand, they have to disclose it. And our goal is for more disclosures, more transparency. And a lot of brands do not participate in this, but there are some that do. And we're just trying to make this fair for everyone and make sure that our owners, our members, and the industry gets the best services from brands. There are brands that tell you that you have to buy this product from this vendor, but guess what? That will be the cheapest you'll be able to find. And we have no problems with that. Although there are brands that, on the other hand, there are brands that tell you have to buy this product from this vendor, but it's more expensive. Sometimes 50%.
That's always a sticky issue, and I applaud you guys for going in there at it, because obviously the brands need to make money. You guys need to make money. They're also trying to assure that there's a certain quality of product, they say, but you also want your financial independence and freedom to make decisions. How do you even sit at the table where it seems like there's so many opposing?
Right. So what we're asking for when it comes to vendor exclusivity is if there is a certain product, then they should provide the specs, which some brands already do. And as long as it meets the spec, then the brand should be okay with it.
Right.
And as I said, a lot of our brand partners already do that. There's something that's called a waiver process where you can submit for a waiver. Yep. And we saw a lot of that during COVID because of supply chain issues and so on. And the brands were very flexible when it came to ownership.
But now we're on the other side of COVID. And I recall, Laura Lee, you were around with AAHOA at the time, post-financial crisis, everyone was nice until they clamped down and said you have to get stuff done, right?
Exactly.
And I'll throw in too, one of the things that we're seeing, and I think it's going to come down the pike, and it's one of the concerns, is that some of our members, and this is the real concern, that there's a mandated vendor, and you think with the franchisor working with these vendors, and if there's so many franchisees buying products, there should be a discounted price for the product or service. Right. Instead, what we're hearing is the price sometimes is double, triple, quadruple what they would pay if they just went and bought it from the vendor directly. And then we hear that the franchisors are receiving rebates or commissions, or we like to call them kickbacks, from these mandated vendors because our franchisees, our members, are paying more for the products or services.
Right.
And so, as Neal mentioned, this New Jersey bill would not stop that practice. It would simply require the franchisors to then disclose it and explain where this money is going, to return it somehow to the franchisees. So these
not fair for that to happen, even if it's transparent. And everything should be transparent because basically they work for you without you going out and getting the money to invest in that hotel, developing that hotel. They don't have a business. So I've been fighting this for 30 years on my own, independently with some of these brands.
Yeah.
And I've gotten thrown out of enough meetings to have the wounds to tell you about it.
He has.
But one of the things I remember back in the day was one brand would say, well, we're giving you don't have to worry about advertising on the internet, you know, for we'll take care of that. So Google AdWords is free. Remember that, Neil? It's all free.
Yeah.
But then they would back charge you 35% for every reservation or whatever stupid, ridiculous price it was. Remember that? And I remember being in a meeting with a pretty high up brand person with an owner. And the owner was listening and believing everything they said. And I was like, no, it's not free. You got to stop saying free. It's not free. Google AdWords are not free. If it comes through Google AdWords, you're charging the owner X percentage. I can't remember. It's a ridiculous percentage. So it's triple the number. So if you're going to do it and everybody's got to make a living, it's got to be transparent and give the owner the option. You know, I'm helping develop a small hotel in Florida, and 90% of the stuff we bought from Amazon, and it was cheaper than every place else we got.
Seriously? You bought it from Amazon?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And you know how many hotel owners do that? They go to Amazon. It's free shipping, and it's quicker, and it's easier, and it's cheaper.
Right. Plus you get access to all those videos on Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
Great deal to me.
So Glenn, to add to that, we actually have brands that are partnering with Amazon, and they're providing free Amazon business accounts to their franchisees. So
that's pretty cool. I had no idea that even existed. Now, obviously, I know the AWS side of the business, where a lot of the major brands have them act as servers, but not this side.
There's a coffee maker that the owner wanted that we couldn't find anywhere. It was white, and the only way you can find it was on Amazon, but you can only buy 2 at a time. So every day she's buying 2.
Oh, that's hysterical.
But I'll also throw in, you know, aside from the fair franchising, we're working on a lot of things in DC as well. And of course, there's a huge labor shortage in this country, and we all know that.
For you on that, after you say your piece.
Right. And so one thing that we've been really encouraging is the H-2B visas.
Hey, that's a question Kamlesh was going to ask you. Anything you do about the H-2B visa? He's been waiting very patiently for like 20 minutes. So share a little bit about that. The H-2B visa, it allows foreign workers to come in for seasonal work. Typically, it happens at resorts, beach resorts in the summer, ski resorts in the winter, for example. Please take it away, Laura Lee.
Yes. And so thankfully, the administration did support that. And there were additional H-2B visas that were authorized this year. But now, even with that addition, my understanding is, last I heard, that all those slots either have been filled or are close to being filled. We've also been talking to a number of different organizations about possibly coming up with a new type of visa, maybe an H-2C visa that would be for hospitality workers, because again, the industry is really lacking in, you know, employees and staff. And of course, there's all kinds of suggestions on, you know, ways that you can maybe do that by getting even more flexible. But so that's one key element we're working on. Another one that is of high concern is the Biden administration is looking at taking the 1031 exchanges, or the like-kind exchanges, and limiting that to only $500,000, which would essentially eliminate, you know, these types of exchanges for commercial real estate.
Right. Basically, you're deferring capital gains or losses that you would otherwise have to pay when you do the sale, right?
Exactly. So the concept is that with a 1031 like-kind exchange, if you sold your hotel, took that money and invested it in another type of hotel, that then you wouldn't be paying the capital gains taxes at that time. And you could use that profit then, or those gains, to invest in the next business.
Kind of like what I did when I sold my apartment and bought a house.
Wait, they're trying to get rid of that?
They're trying to limit it to only 500,000, which would essentially get rid of commercial real estate. And we have so many stories of AAHOA members that maybe they started with a small independent property. They then use that money to then buy their first flag property. And then now over time, they have numerous properties.
I know. That's what I learned from Monopoly. You got a house, you had another one, you sell it, you get a hotel.
Wow, I didn't realize that. And let me just say something. And I've worked for independent owners my whole life. So I've never seen an independent owner buy a hotel that didn't use that vehicle.
Yeah, of course.
That vehicle is more important than any other issue that we just spoke about. If you don't have that vehicle, you don't have new hotels, you don't have new employees.
Right.
That is probably the number one priority of all the number one priorities.
Yep.
Right.
I have a owner I'm working with right now that just sold something and is going to develop a brand new hotel because they just sold another property. And if they can't take that money and develop that hotel, they're not going to sell that property next time.
Yep.
They're just going to hope they're going to hold it until the right time. But they're literally sold that property to develop another hotel. Now, if they develop another hotel, that client becomes a bigger client for me, right? So my team works, employees work. We just gave a young lady who never had any experience a great job in the hotel because he developed the hotel because he can afford to because of this another hotel because of this. So I didn't realize that, and I can't imagine there's a bigger priority to making sure that doesn't go away.
Right.
Yeah. So Anthony, to that point, I've used it myself with my family, and when we sold one of our hotels, I believe it was about 5 years ago, we ended up using 1031 to defer the taxes to a later date. And if it wasn't for 1031, so we're able to buy 2 other hotels from the proceeds that we received. If it wasn't for 1031, we would only be able to buy 1. And it's not like we're not going to pay the taxes. We're just deferring it to a later time.
Right.
Yeah, but you're paying taxes in a different way. You're paying employment taxes. You're paying real estate taxes, and you're getting the economy going and growing. So taking those taxes and giving it to the government, I don't want to go what they're going to do with it. You're actually giving people jobs, and you're paying occupancy tax, you're paying sales tax, you're paying Social Security tax, you're paying so many taxes with that. So it's not like you're deferring, the tax. You're just paying a different tax, and you're keeping the economy going. Wow, you got me going because I didn't.
It sounds like it. All right, I got to go back to this H-2B, H-2C thought with these visas. How do you get something like an H-2C thing passed? Does that have to go through full legislation, or does it just have to go through a department? Because if you're trying to get something done with both the House and Senate, I mean, good luck.
Right. And exactly. And that's why we're exploring all the different options, because it truly is a crisis right now with, with the employment. And as you mentioned, the reason that housekeeping isn't being done on a daily basis is because of the lack of staff. And just, everybody's trying to get very creative on ways to do this. And I've heard everything from, trying to work with employees and explain that it's not a job, that even though you're on an hourly wage, this is a potential career for you, so that they're not just jumping off at the next, as you mentioned, the next hourly wage position that might pay $1 more.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's where I think we've been lacking as an industry, whether it be the first generation of AAHOA, whether it be operators that are trying to get as many profits. Now I think as we educate the younger generation and we educate real hoteliers, it's not about paying $1 less for housekeeping and front desk. It's about treating those people like family members so they can operate your second and third and fourth hotels, getting that housekeeper to be a general manager. And I think it's a little bit shame on us last 30 years ago, where we weren't doing that. And now that we've got a little bit of a gun to our head, we're a little bit more like, okay, we understand. So if we don't do a better job in, like, okay, the general manager and your front desk manager, okay, maybe you're treating them a little different, they're getting paid. But how about that housekeeper that's working 16 rooms a day? Those are the people we have to make sure we groom into hotel operators and managers. Why don't we look at the housekeepers for supervisory positions? And I think we've all done a bad job on that because, we're so busy running our business.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and another, key idea that I've heard, although they say it makes it very difficult for the management to kind of make this work, but even to become extremely flexible with housekeeping services, going to college campuses and offering to, to the college students, come in when you can. And, if you have 5 hours, kind of like the Uber and Lyft drivers.
We just spoke to the HR manager. At Omni, and she's putting in all these things. Another really cool thing was surge pay on the weekends. Come in and work Friday or Saturday night, for Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
Right. to get creative on all those fronts, because there's many people out there looking for flexible positions. And so if we can use that as an industry to offer that service,
Right.
you could see amazing things happen. So
And we have to. At this point, it's not just the younger generations. All of us. We all want more flex time. We all want to work from home one day a week. And sometimes that's your most, productive day when you're working at home, because you have so much you're getting on, just to show your face,
Yeah.
So yes, and when they were on a couple of weeks ago or last week, whenever they were on, I was shocked to hear surge pricing. I was shocked to hear flexibility. Come in when you can. We'll work around you. And again, the number one priority is to set expectations for the guest before they get there, to understand what they can expect and what they can't expect. I was staying at a hotel in Jupiter next to the project I'm working on, and I was shocked that they actually cleaned my room. I was shocked by it, because it's not a 5-star hotel, and I was only paying, it was pretty relatively inexpensive, $135. And it was a nice hotel, and they cleaned my room. So, that was really, that was nice. And I actually did put do not disturb sign on, which I usually do, just to see if they would. And they did. And I was surprised by that. But expectations is what we need to really understand, because everything is shifting. It's not coming back. We're not coming back to daily house comparison with most hotels.
Right. And I'll throw out too that, another thing that we're really taking a close look at is the impact of the Airbnbs on the industry and on our members. Because there's so many Airbnbs operating out there, and in a lot of jurisdictions, especially if a city or a county is looking at, extra revenue, one of the first things they do is go to our members and add an increased hotel occupancy tax. Meanwhile, the Airbnbs aren't even identified, or even if they are, and expected to pay their hotel occupancy taxes, since it's kind of the aunt and uncle maybe operating an extra bedroom out of their home, they're not doing it. But what we're discovering as we're looking at this more closely is a lot of these Airbnbs are now being operated by very large corporations, and they're going in and buying these homes, buying these complexes, turning them into a huge revenue generator, and kind of skating underneath, the table, so nobody knows that they're even there and how much money they're making.
We were talking to Marriott and the young lady who runs their villas and castles and condos. Remember that young lady?
Homes and Villas, Jennifer.
Yeah. And they're like castles. They have castles.
They do, but that's not the name of the company. I thought you were.
They said a number that really shook me. They found that 20% of their members, of their Bonvoy members, were using alternative accommodations. 27%. That's why they got into the villas and castles.
Right.
So that's amazing.
Let me tell you guys, unsolicited, I would go at it from the angle that these properties are destroying rent values for people. They're coming in, they're artificially increasing the rents. You've seen in Florida, 25-30% in just the past few months. This is making it impossible for average people that are working in your hotels, your businesses, to even be able to live locally, because they've been pushed out so far. So it's a real human rights issue in a way.
I'm finding the problem right now in Jupiter. That's exactly the problem we're finding.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, who's gonna make that coffee if they can't afford a place to live?
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're talking about Airbnb, and that when it first came on market, I said I would worry more about the hotel with 100 rooms that's opening than two brothers opening up their house with 2 bedrooms. However, it wasn't weaponized. Now it's been weaponized. Now the developers have gotten involved, and they're seeing an alternative to make a lot of money. So now it's a whole different game. I don't have that opinion anymore. Now it's like we need to be worried.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And on that point, and so it reminded me too that another issue that's developing, and it's a tough one to address, is the homeless crisis in this country, right? And how we're now starting to see, especially in California. I'm coming out of California, returning to Atlanta with this position, but coming out of California, and the desperate need to address the homelessness. But I recently heard that, for example, in LA, they are now looking at legislation or an ordinance that would require hotel owners every day to report their occupancy rates. And if they had open rooms, then they would be required to issue vouchers to homeless persons that needed a place to stay.
Right. How about you, the city, do your responsibility and take care of our sick people?
Who would invest in California? If I was a hotelier, who would invest multi-millions of dollars?
Yeah.
There's two issues, right? One, every single one of us, there by the grace of God, go I. We can all be homeless. We can all be out. So we need to fix that problem because any one of us can go there, right?
Right. Exactly.
I remember coming out of Catcher's Deli when I was a kid and seeing homeless people, and I always said, "There by the grace of God, go I." So that's one. That's a separate issue than somebody developing a hotel and then having somebody paying $300 a night and having a homeless person walk through the lobby. Now, homeless people, there's a lot of mental issues as well. So we're not solving that problem. We're not solving anything because our government can't fix the problem. They're going to do exactly the opposite of what they should be doing.
They can fix the problem. They refuse to address the issue.
Dude, that would be the end of California. I mean, that would be terrible.
Well, and it's when I was in California, I actually was involved with a number of homeless organizations trying to come up with ways to assist. But to mandate that each hotel owner then has to issue vouchers, is that the answer? I don't know. I mean,
the government should buy the hotel, from the owner and operate it as a homeless shelter. There's a hotel in Brooklyn that was really, really, really nice hotel that opened up near the water when I was a kid. And the owner sold it to the government. And basically didn't sell the property, but basically gave the entire inventory to the government. And they've been operating it very successfully for 30 years. It's in a very nice community. It's separated. It's on the water. It's very nice. Everybody from that hotel is, integrated into community. And it works, and there's nobody walking around there getting upset. The property values haven't gone down, but they are basically living their life in a homeless shelter in a very nice, clean, safe environment, and people aren't being forced to, work side by side with it because I don't think that solves any problem.
Not only that, it's going to exacerbate other problems. If you put somebody that has a mental illness in a hotel where other folks are, your chances of an incident occurring are much higher, and then who's liable for that?
Something that city of Austin, so I'm based in Austin, Texas, and we worked with the city to develop this plan where they're buying up hotels. And what's going on with that is once they buy it, there's a job placement program. It's 6 months. So if you're homeless, then you can be part of that. And the rent is really, really, really low, and they get you all cleaned up. And then they train you for a job. And it's a 6 month thing. And then once you get a job, then you move out. So not sure if other cities will adopt that model, but that's definitely a solution.
And Austin has a problem, but it was small enough for them to solve it. And the mayor, who I don't think is the mayor now, but he made sure that as he was leaving, that he solved the problem. Because when it gets to the levels of California, it's almost unsolvable.
Right. Now, and it's interesting too, because Neal raised this, where we as AAHOA too are caught in the middle of something along these lines.
Right.
So what's happening in California is Governor Newsom has allocated, I believe, or maybe even over $1 billion to try to address the homeless crisis. And so what's happening is some of our members in California that have very nice hotels are being offered a pretty penny to sell these to, the cities or the counties to then operate as homeless shelters. And of course, it's a great benefit. They're being paid top dollar for their hotels. But now the franchisors of these brands are calling us and saying, I'm losing a very successful flag because it's now being sold to the government and I'm losing out. And we had a long-term, we had a franchise agreement and your members now are willing to sell, their hotels. We're losing out. So what can we do to kind of bridge that gap? So it puts AAHOA in a bit of a bind too, that we're trying to address these issues that are all intertwined as everybody's trying to find solutions.
So remind them that they have an opportunity to resell that franchise, get a newer property in the market, and get all those glorious fees.
I think the brands are big enough to basically figure that problem out and still have do community service that makes sure that hotel gets sold.
Right.
The funny thing is, a lot of the major brands are very focused on community service and doing a lot of programs in that regard. So it's interesting to see how certain companies could have opposing point of views even within the organization.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
So every day, bottom line is every day, there are new issues, new challenges. And, thankfully, like I said, we have officers and board members, and we actually sit and we spend a lot of time debating, strategizing on what is the best course forward, because oftentimes there's no easy answers.
I've never taken a deep breath after a podcast. I just took a deep breath. I was like, So really, are you really, really passionate, or are you crazy? Which is it?
Absolutely both. One of my favorite words is both. So yes, it's flip side of the coin depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah, you're taking on a lot of challenges, and I commend you.
Yeah, but you're unstoppable because you got your notebook and you're just
today we received some news out of LA that they did not vote on this, although they're mandating it, where and it implies to housekeeping, where they cannot clean more than a certain amount of rooms per day. And that's going to create more of a labor challenge for us.
Do they not know what's going on?
How many rooms is the mandate? How many rooms?
I believe it's 8, if I'm not mistaken.
So then what happens if the housekeeper has only worked 6 hours? Then that individual gets screwed out of 2 hours of pay?
Yeah, we have a call about that just right after this.
How many rooms did they say they can clean a day? 8?
I believe it's 8. I'm actually, so apparently they had 110 signatures on the petition. It was a union thing.
Now, 8 rooms. Now, how about if their stayovers with do not disturb signs on, and the housekeepers don't?
Yeah, that's true.
don't report that, right? So, listen, I'm the type of person where I want to give as many rooms as possible, but even 8 rooms, that's about as minimal. That's minimal. I mean. Because not all 8 rooms require 32 minutes to clean.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Ridiculous. We're just about at the end. Laura Lee, I'm so excited for you. Congratulations again. Any final words from both of you before we let you go for the day and get back to it?
Look, we're excited this year. We're also putting in a lot of technology and trying to innovate the association and giving the resources to the membership that we intend to do. And
are you at High Tech? Are you next week?
Yes, we'll definitely be at High Tech.
We'll see you there.
Yep, and trying to create a resource library, connecting, giving out best practices, connecting members with our vendor partners, and so on. So we'll continue to be the resource and an advocate for America's hotel owners.
Yes.
Excellent. Laura Lee?
Yes, and I would again just thank you first, both of you, for allowing us to join today. And I would just close by saying that it is such a pleasure to be back and to be on board with AAHOA again. To be part of the world's largest hotel owners association, and I often remind our team that it's not just our day-to-day operations. It's not just the particular challenge that we're talking about that day, but there's such a national impact and even a global impact to everything that we're doing. And so to be joining in this effort and then to be working with chairman like Neal, I have just the highest respect for him. He has a wisdom beyond his years. We say this many, many times, but thank you for giving us this opportunity to just start. And it truly is a new day, a new start. And this is AAHOA. So let's see where this goes in the upcoming years. So thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations again. And we will see you next week. Take care. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm exhausted by all the problems the hotel that they're dealing with.
The good thing you chose not to be a hotelier for a living then.
I did not know about that tax issue. That people don't understand when as an asset manager and working with developers all the time. That's how people buy hotels. Period. They take their money. That's how the Algonquin was bought from a billionaire. He bought it because he wanted to take that money, his profit, and buy hotels, and it would be ridiculous. But you know, there's another way of saving money for hotels.
I have no idea, Anthony. What would that be?
I don't know, Glenn. You tell me.
You got to check out our friends over at Champion, because the fact is, you want to get rid of one of those myriad headaches that you have, right? After all, these platinum members with AAHOA are here to help you. And if you're having water problems from your existing wall sleeve, Champion has got the solution for you. It's the only sleeve with an easy maintenance to condensate drain pellet delivery system. You don't have to take out the unit, just chop in a couple of pellets. Really, really simple. Think about all the time that saves, all the hours that saves, how that allows your engineering department to get onto the other stuff. It's Florida building approved, so if it's good for Florida weather, it's good anywhere. It's got an angled bottom pan made of ABS plastic, so it won't rust and get ugh.
Right, and the solution is basically, when you're building the hotel, you have to put this in because it solves the problem for the operator. Like right now, hotels I'm working with, like a big problem is maintenance people. It's hard to find really good maintenance people. So the more things we can, through technology and through creativity and people creating patents, because Champion is a patented product. That's how you solve some of the labor issues. Well, I'm exhausted after today, guy.
I'm exhausted. I would go take a nap, but I got to go watch my kids graduate. While I'm watching them get their diploma, I'd love for you guys to get the audio version of our podcast. Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. And if you happen to be listening right now, why not give us a shot? Watch us on YouTube, Anthony's Facebook page, my Facebook page, our no vacancy pages, and our respective LinkedIn pages.
Sir. Take a seat, baby.
All right, everybody. Remember, you got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you next week.